Hey, welcome, B-Siders, to this latest episode of my podcast where I talk to wonderful, amazing human beings about their journey in life, how music plays a part in that, and how it also has and does help them along the way, and the golden musical nuggets we can hopefully take away and implement in our life or give us a little bit of hope now and then when we need it. So on today's episode, I'm joined by Joe, or is it Joe or Joseph? I forgot to ask you, and I feel really guilty.
Yeah, Joe is fine.
Joe
That's
is
totally
fine.
fine.
Cool. Yep. By Joe. And Joe, he's I'm really looking forward to this one because there's important and very interesting things going to come up, which especially at the moment are huge. And yes, it's about mental health, which we kind of come back to a lot in these podcast episodes. But before we dive into that, here's a little bit about Joe. He is the founder and executive director of Broken People, which is an international mental health peer support group. And I'm sure Joe will dive into that a little bit more because he obviously knows it inside out what it's about. And he's also very active as a peer support specialist and family advocate with the National Alliance of Mental Illness in America, which is amazing again. And he's also written a book called Broken Like Me. And I think we'll touch on that too, because that's part of why I want to join this podcast, to share his kind of life story and how music has played obviously a tiny part in that, as you can imagine. Welcome, Joe. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. Did I miss anything? Do you want to touch on anything? Maybe dive into it a little bit more so we get a bit more.
No, I think you hit some great points. You completely missed all of my faults, so I think we're off to a good start.
Oh God.
So let's start wherever you want to start.
Okay, well, maybe just tell us a little bit about Broken Like Me, and then your organization Broken People, because I think that's people probably want to know what it is before we dive into music, because that then will feed into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, music does play a pretty significant role in my experience, as I think is with most people that struggle with their mental health. But again, we'll get to that. This is my book. It's Broken Like Me, an insider's toolkit for mending broken people. And what the basic story behind this, and we'll probably dive even deeper into this a little bit later, was at my church, we had a worship leader, the guy that sings on the stage and everybody kind of tries to follow. And he had really struggled with his mental health and was in and out of psychiatric hospitals here in Michigan. And when I met him, I was just going into a hospital and was very insecure about my safety. And there's a reason for that, because back 20 years ago, I was in a hospital and some pretty terrible things happened while I was there that made me never want to go back to a psychiatric hospital. But this guy, Nathan, who was my best friend, on January 24th, 2018, ended up taking his life. And I'm a music pastor. You think pastors are supposed to like have it all together or whatever. And it was in that moment when I got the call. I work for Federal Express, FedEx, and I was driving my FedEx truck, driving out of a cheese factory here in Michigan, and I got the call. And as soon as I hung up the call that my friend had passed away, I feel like I got the clearest direction from God that I've ever gotten. Like if I've ever heard God, it was in that moment. And it was like, all the stuff that you've been through, all of the tools that I've given you, the tools that you've developed over time to survive every day, I want you to do something with that. So I started writing my book. but then I had some mentors and people in my life that were very significantly placed to help me go a little bit further, because the only people you're going to impact with a book is the people that read your book. And so he encouraged me to start an organization, which, when I'm at my lowest point, when I'm struggling and I'm in crisis, the best way I know how to describe it is I feel broken.
Mm.
And I was wondering, hey, I wonder if there's a bunch of people that feel broken like me,
Mhm.
in my city, in my town, maybe in the world. And as soon as I started it up, we have members in 43 countries. Um, and we just encourage each other. We're all struggling. We're all, we have our good days and our bad days, but yeah, and I've got an amazing team of directors that help me kind of like run this wonderful beast that that it has become. And
Mhm.
the book, just to give you a little lowdown on that, the significant parts of the book there are three parts, and I'll talk about the last two first. There's the importance of journaling in your life, and I refer to journaling as a keystone habit. And a keystone habit is a habit that's foundational that other habits can be built on. So I literally talked for over 100 pages about journaling and some of the scientific evidence for the benefits of journaling, how to
Mhm.
journal when you don't like journaling.
That's a big
And
one.
yeah, I mean, there are some uh, roadblocks that people deal with that don't
Mhm.
have to be a roadblock. Um, and a journaling isn't always just like what you think about when you're writing in a book. There's a lot of different ways to do it, because it's just a form of self-reflection.
Mhm.
Um, and then the third part of the book, so the second part was journaling. The third part is all about friendship.
Mhm.
And I think that's probably the most important tool that I bring up. And I over 100 pages about friendship. Like, I don't know how many books there are that talk about friendship and being an adult, but
Mhm.
not a whole lot. And so one of the things that's been really helpful for me is to develop this core group of friends that hold me accountable, that inspire me to grow, and just really make life a lot easier for me, so I don't have to guess who to call when I need something. I've got this core group of people that I'm always there for them when when it's reasonable, and they're there for me.
Mhm.
Um, so two is journaling. Three is what I call intentional best friends.
Mhm.
And it addresses things like toxic friendship. I don't know if that's something you guys talk a lot about there in Australia, but the word toxic friendship is it goes around here a lot in the States. So
Mhm.
I address
Yep.
that issue and what you can do.
Okay.
Um, the first tool is something I call the Universal Mental Health Scale, or more commonly known as the Joe Scale, and it's just a way to um, communicate with your doctor, law enforcement, public safety people, your family, friends, in a way that's simple, stupid simple, makes a lot of sense,
Mhm.
and it gives them some direction on what they can do in that moment if you're struggling. And if you or your audience would Google mental health scales right now,
Mhm.
they're going to find a variety of things, and none of them say the same thing. You'll find one scale where 10 is 1 through 10, 10 is good and 1 is bad. And then the next image will be 1 is good and 10 is bad. And
Mm,
when you're
gosh.
when you're going through a crisis, it's like you need consistency, you need no brainers, you need to be
Mm.
able to communicate that you're in a crisis without doing a lot of talking. Because when I'm in crisis, I don't want to say a thing.
Mm.
I don't I
Yep.
don't have the energy or the fortitude to be able to communicate in a way and tell you what I need. So my
Mhm.
scale simplifies that process. I use the word insanely. I can say insanely because I've been insane, so I know the
Mhm.
feeling of that.
Yeah.
So that's
Okay.
the essence of my book, and it's I've had people tell me it's kind of funny,
Mhm.
because I'm telling it, I'm sharing these tools from my perspective, an insider, just kind of telling you what works for me. And every chapter, I love this part because I hate books that have questions at the end of a chapter.
Yeah.
I think I feel like I should do them, but I always
Hmm.
feel guilty when I don't. But I
Oh
never
no.
want to do them any.
Yeah.
So at the end of every chapter, let's see a pop one here open here. I have this section called utilization.
Right. Oh yeah,
So
the gray boxes. Yeah.
it's spelled YOU utilization. So
Oh.
how do you take the principles that I've introduced in the previous chapter
Hmm.
and integrate them into your life? Because what may work for me
Hmm.
probably isn't going to work for you. Plus, you guys drive on the wrong side of the street. So there's that. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, we are, but that could be
Well,
confusing in
we
itself.
probably actually drive on the wrong side of the street. But they're just fun exercises
Hmm.
to apply some of the principles that I introduce in every chapter.
Right.
So yeah,
It,
and it's yeah.
it doesn't look too thick either, like the book. Do you know what I mean?
No,
So it doesn't look
and
very daunting to read.
yeah, it's and
Because
most
if you
people,
have,
if you check it out on Amazon, most of the reviews are people with, there's mostly 5-star reviews and people love it.
oh,
They think it's
nice.
fun. So
Yeah, that's great.
yeah,
Yeah. Wow. Thanks for sharing that. That's really insightful and helpful as well. So,
my pleasure.
hmm. Now, obviously, how now we're diving into the whole music bit.
Sure.
How has music kind of played a part in all of that? And I don't really know which part I want to address first. So I'm just saying all of that. So I'll let you kind of choose where to start.
Yeah, I think the most significant part is how music has been a healing salve for me,
Mm.
um, to get to escape from the thoughts in my head. So if I can plug in my headphones, one of the things I really struggle with are these internal voices and impulses. They're not actually voices, but they're impulses to hurt myself or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to turn on some music and plug some encouragement and some inspiration through my headphones is just it's been
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And a lot of times for me, like I was just talking to my wife a few days ago, and she mentioned, you know what, Joe, you really like songs based on the words, and
Oh,
she
really?
likes songs that are based
Mm-hmm.
on the music. She's all into Guns N' Roses and all this other stuff, and I'm into like a lot of Christian type music, and I
Mm-hmm.
like the meaning of the words, and I think it's pretty significant too that my friend that passed away was a person that was very musically gifted.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan, that whole started this whole journey for me. Um, and the dude can sing. He
Mm-hmm.
was an amazing singer, and he used music as an expression
Mm-hmm.
of his life, and it's almost like another appendage, right? For musicians out there, that's what it is. It becomes a part of you that extends out to touch other people.
Mm, absolutely.
And yeah, him and I would sing together on Sundays. Yeah, he would tease me because I always wanted to rap because I do like hip hop, and
Yeah.
and I'm awful at it, and he'd always tell me no, which is probably a good idea, but
You got to try it once in your life.
oh my god, I did try it. It was
Oh, you did.
awful. I did it at a talent show. It was awful. It was people were
Don't-
taking videos, and it wasn't even funny enough to share on social media. It was so awful.
Oh no. But at least you can tick it off your bucket list.
That's right. The bucket list.
Yeah. That
Good
bucket
call. So
list.
yeah, music has been,
Yeah.
um,
And yeah, so you already touched on that the lyrics kind of helped you hopefully reframe what's going on in your head. Is that what happened for you? That's
yeah, it gives me some
mm.
direction.
Mm-hmm.
I think that musicians are kind of modern day philosophers, and I I love that. I love
Mm.
the some of the you talk about people that are artists with pain. There's a lot of ambiguity and what was meant by such and such, and there's a lot of that in music too. Like rap, for example, I love the way that rap music, people express themselves and use stories and humor, and they create their own words. Like, I think that's brilliant. And
Mm.
country music used to be that, like that in here in the States, where it used to be story, all about story. It wasn't always about like, my wife left me, my dog left me, I don't have any money. I
Oh
don't I
gosh.
don't know if you're familiar with country music here,
A
but
little bit, yeah.
yeah, it's not my favorite. But yeah, and
Mm.
I love words that kind of, I love music that takes me outside of myself and points me in a positive direction.
Mm. Yes, that's exactly what I love as well. It's for me, it's generally a way to recognize my emotions, sit with them, and then kind of work my way through them. And that can be in different types of music. Sometimes I'm all about slow kind of ballad stuff, but then, like your
Mm.
wife, some days I need a bit of Guns N' Roses in my life, you know. And then obviously I get exposed to new artists through guests like yourself, which is always amazing because there's so many talented artists out there that I've never heard of.
Sure.
And that's a shame because, you know, they do amazing work, and
Yeah.
it needs to kind of be shared and
Yeah, but
listened to.
there's
So
so many artists out there, so it's like, how do you get the word out about all of them? It's crazy.
I know. And then also different genres of music. I mean, we all have our favorites, but then, getting exposed to maybe a type of music that you haven't been, and all of a sudden realize, I can actually relate to that. That actually hits something with me and it helps me is amazing too. So, that's what I feel this podcast does for me. And your song choices were part of that. I've never
Hmm.
heard of them before. And I'm like, oh,
Really
yeah. Oh, no,
interesting.
yeah. So
Uh,
yeah. Thank you for that. And while we're here and talking about them, why don't we share who it is we're talking about?
sure. And right before we got on, and I think this is such a brilliant podcast to be able to use music in this way. I think it's a wonderful idea. So thank you for starting this. And the band that I talked about is Switchfoot, and I do. You talked about this before we got on. It's like, there's another artist out there that I really want your audience to know about,
Okay.
who does hip hop. But I'll talk about him in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But Switchfoot is kind of this like Christian pop, rock band. Although you wouldn't know they're Christians, because they just sing about life stuff, and it's very practical. And you know, the word ballad comes to mind. Did you happen to listen to the songs by any chance?
I did, yes. I listened
Okay.
to you. I was just about to listen to Dare to Move, but my cat decided she had other plans for me. So I got interrupted.
Yeah, and I remember walking home when I was let out of the hospital, and I was doing outpatient care, where you go in for a few hours, you
Mm.
do some mental health work, and then you come home. I
Mm-hmm.
remember walking home and just having my headphones in and blaring that music, and finding encouragement. Um, and really, it had to do a lot with the relatability of
Mm.
of the songs, and um, I
Mm-hmm.
think I think what happens, when people talk, like, you have pastors that preach, and teachers that teach,
Mm-hmm.
and what happens is they end up talking at you, whereas I think that, music talks with you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you're kind of drawn to, you're drawn to music that reflects your soul, and music is a lot of time like a mirror. And so when I
Yeah.
would sit with that, um, it was very centering and encouraging. And there's another artist, NF, the letter N and letter F. He's a rapper. He is amazing.
Okay. Go and check him
Please
out.
check him out.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, he's from my home state here of Michigan, and he just talks about real life stuff, and he's appropriate for kids. There's not a single swear word in there, and just talks
Okay.
about life stuff. and it's just spectacular.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
yeah, and I think I listen to that one when I'm more like uh, positioned towards angry.
Okay.
That's my angry music, maybe a little bit, or my
Mm-hmm.
frustrated music. And then when I'm sorrowful or I'm in crisis, Switchfoot is definitely my go-to.
Nice. That's so interesting. Yeah, I'll go and check him out for sure.
Yeah, thanks.
See what he's all
Then
about.
tell him I told you about him.
Yeah. I will do.
And you know what? When I was writing my book too, there's an
Mm-hmm.
artist here. His name is Chris Rice, and
Yep.
like for whatever reason, whenever I would get into, you've heard of writer's block,
Mm-hmm.
I would struggle with that. I'd throw that music on, plug my headphones in, and just something about his music, and it's very chill. Um,
Mm-hmm.
helps me get through. Help me get through this thing.
Wow.
Very 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 helpful.
That's kind of interesting. Yeah. Yeah, because writer's block apparently is one of the worst things you can have when you want
Well,
to write a
well,
book.
yeah.
So,
Well, well, think about what happens. Like you're when you're writing, you're primarily using one side of your brain. You're using that logical side of your brain. But when
yep.
you bring music into it, you're
Mm-hmm.
engaging and you're stimulating the other side of your brain, right?
Yep.
So then there's a more of a balance, and you can get stuck on one side with the logical and get unstuck by just impacting or stimulating the other side of your personality, of your life, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's sides of brains or whatever. Like if you're struggling and you're being all serious, you
Yep.
know watch a comedy, listen to music,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
do
because
a little dance, make a little love, get down tonight.
that's it. Exactly. Yeah, I mean, from as far as I know, music is what connects both sides of the brain. It stimulates both sides. So I
Mhm.
think I'm not totally mistaken for my knowledge about music. So it really is a good connector
Yeah,
internally and externally. So
well, especially
definitely.
somebody that understands music, like
Mm.
I play the guitar a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So music is more of like an entertainment for me,
Yeah.
rather than just appreciating the skill and the cleverness of the
Mm.
work that these fantastic artists do. um,
Yeah. But we need both sides. We need the artists who are very skilled and know exactly what they're doing, and then us who are the absorbers and
yeah,
oh, there you go. There's a different
yeah.
sound.
My dog says hello. She wants to be famous.
Oh, there you go. That's my second dog on the podcast, by the way. So there you go. That seems to be a bit of a theme now. Maybe they want to tell me to get a dog on the podcast.
Yeah, who let the dogs out? Maybe we need to get
Oh
close with
gosh.
that song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wasn't that a hit? Yeah, that's interesting. Do you have any like playlists that you use, or do you do anything like that at all? Or is it just more of a I'm in the mood, I'm in the moment type of thing for you with music?
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like I'm just learning about playlists. Like
Oh,
I
okay.
I like I didn't know it was a thing until my kids, or my wife and my kids, use Spotify, and they kind of group this genre of music, and I'm like, how do you
Mm-hmm.
do that? So I don't even have like one of those audio things on my phone. Like I have music that's downloaded,
Mm-hmm.
and so I've got like Joe sad moments, Joe birthday music moments, and I'm just trying to figure out how to make that all work. But
Mm-hmm.
usually I just like to shuffle. And if you heard my phone and the different types of music I am on there that shuffle, you'd
Mm-hmm.
laugh, because there's just everything except for opera. I've tried opera. I really
Mm-hmm.
have tried to engage it. I understand the complexity of it and the skill, but
Mm-hmm.
man, please help me out. I can't do it. And I've tried.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't think we are supposed to love all genres of music,
Yeah.
so
There's actually a part in my book where I talk about how we judge people sometimes.
mm.
And one of the utilization challenges is to think about the person, think about the music that you absolutely hate, the
Mm-hmm.
genre of music, and then listen to two songs.
Mm-hmm.
And then remind yourself that there are people out there that are completely different than you that truly love this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we try to think about just trying to get people to think differently about.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is as well, I mean, and I think you got a good point there. Excuse me. Even though you might not like opera, but you can still have kind of respect for it, for the skill that they need to be able to sing opera. So it's not like you
Absolutely.
completely dislike it, but you sort of like, it's not my cup of tea, but I respect it. And like you said, with humans, you can do the same thing. They might not be the people you want to hang around with, but you still kind of respect them and leave them to live their life without wanting to harm them or be horrible to them in any shape or form. So that's a really good way of looking at it. I like that little exercise. Maybe we should all do that now and then.
Yeah, I think it opens your mind up for different things, like
Mm.
read some books that you wouldn't typically enjoy.
Yeah, oh, yeah, you can apply to almost everything in life for sure. Yeah. Excellent. Now, do you use, I, I think I might know the answer, but I'm still going to ask. But I know you go out and support other people with, their mental health and things like that. Do you, or have you ever thought about bringing, I mean, you got it in your book, obviously, but do you use music as a tool that you suggest to others a lot when you deal with others who struggle with mental health?
That I'm getting ready to do a presentation to law enforcement here in Michigan,
Mm-hmm.
and I was thinking about that, like how music can be such a way to get people out of their zone, and
Mm-hmm.
to change people's mindset from all the stresses of life to something else. And
Mm.
I haven't, it's a really great idea,
Mm-hmm.
but I haven't done it, and I'm not sure how I would do it, but
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of potential there. If
Mm.
if maybe not in a presentation, but just recommending music.
Yeah.
Um,
Just have
I
like an
actually,
go on.
I actually produced the music for my audiobook. Um, I went on
Oh.
my MacBook and did some GarageBand stuff,
Oh,
um,
wow. Okay.
and yeah, that was fun. That was really awesome. It's only like 10 seconds, but still, it's mine.
Yeah, but you've done it. You were the
Yep,
artist of it. So that's
yep,
pretty cool. Oh, and
exactly.
just on a side note, when we talked about playlists, I don't know about you, but I remember when I was growing up, we didn't have Spotify and the likes. The old audio tape, the audio cassettes.
Yes,
That's
yes,
what that was our playlist because you just recorded it from the radio and that was your playlist.
yes. The song comes on the radio, you kick that record button, you're like,
Exactly.
oh yeah,
And
the Beach
then
Boys.
yeah, and then you kind of almost curse out the DJ because he didn't play it right until the end and said something.
Yeah,
So you always have
jerk.
like one word at the end that's kind of
Or
annoying,
if you
but
had those dual cassette players where there's two and you can record a song,
yep.
or then they had the CD, you could record off of the CD.
Oh my God,
Amazing.
yeah.
We're going back to the 80s. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we did have it, just not in the form that it is today. And I remember that fondly because that was one of my favorite things to make, like what we
Yes,
call mixtape for friends.
yes. I forgot all about that. I'm so glad you brought that up.
So there you go. So you've did it, just not on
Yes,
Spotify.
I did. I just didn't know I did it. I'm
Exactly.
learning about myself on this podcast. 5 stars.
There you go. High five. Yeah, well, I do know that, and going back to using music like with what you do, there's so many ways, like having like when you finish. I don't know how it works. Obviously, I'm not a police officer. I have no idea what they go through. I just admire what they do because they have a very difficult job these days. I think, especially in America, it might be a little bit more extreme than anywhere else from what we see over here, anyway.
Yeah.
But just have something like an unwind playlist when they finish, just to kind of calm down, maybe. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming here. So you know them better than I do. So,
Yeah, I had a friend that served in Afghanistan,
oh dear.
and
Yeah.
um he would tell me the type of music they would listen to before they go out on patrol, and they
Ooh.
would just crank this really death metal,
Mm-hmm.
and to get them all psyched up,
Mm.
and that's kind of stuck with me um, in how to to get your. It's weird how our physical bodies react to sound, and how that impacts our health and our happiness and our mind,
Mm-hmm.
and but yeah,
Yeah.
the there's been a lot that's happened here in America, related to law enforcement, and even in my city, the last 2 weeks, we had
Mm-hmm.
an unfortunate shooting,
Oh no.
that could have been prevented, uh,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a white police officer and a black victim, and
Mm.
yeah, it's ugly, and
Yeah. It's a whole nother
podcast.
not another story, and yeah, it's difficult. I'm
Yeah.
sure for every side of that's involved in that. And I always say I'm not walking in their shoes.
Hmm.
I probably don't understand, so I don't try not to judge
Yeah.
because I've not lived it. I'm not there. Um,
Yeah.
it's just horrible to see, and I feel for both sides if something like that happens, for
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
You
And it's
know.
so easy to watch a situation, be
Mm,
a bench judge or whatever. You see a video like, oh, you should have done this and this, but not being in the situation.
mm,
But you think
exactly.
about like performers on the stage when they're doing
Mm-hmm.
music and the stress. I can't imagine, how intricate it is to perform certain songs and music and dance and all this other stuff. And it's like,
Absolutely.
how do they how do they do that? Like, how do they pull that off? And it just goes to show the level of
Yeah. It's almost
expertise.
Yeah, it's almost like an athlete. I mean, if you say that, my
Oh yeah.
straightforward went to Pink.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've
She's amazing.
seen her live, I think 2 3 times, and what she pulls off is just, I don't know how she does it. I
Yeah.
mean, she's like an athlete
Yep.
with all her whatever she does in the air and not
Yeah.
falling
Floating
off
around.
and singing, and it's just, yeah, it just
My
makes
wife wants
you.
to see her.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I walked away going, my mind's blown. I don't know how this woman
Yeah.
does it. It's just amazing. But then even seeing a band in a smaller venue,
Mhm.
being able to connect with a crowd
Mhm.
and making them feel something and getting involved, I think that's equally talent. I think we forget that sometimes because there's
Yeah.
many artists out there who just that do that on a daily basis, and I mean that in itself is just talent to do that and being able to connect. And I think the connection piece, I think, is really important. If I can't connect with an artist, then
Right.
it's, yeah. So
Yeah. I went to a Switchfoot concert, my only one I've
mm-hmm.
ever been to, on my birthday,
Okay.
a couple years ago, and it was on a small venue. They're a big band here in States, and
Mm-hmm.
it was a very small venue. And the lead singer ends up doing, like, what do you call it when they like fall into the crowd and
Oh,
everybody's just
stage
passing them around?
diving.
Yeah, like, and he's singing while people are just moving him around, and he went all around the whole room,
Uh-huh.
and it's a fairly large room, and I'm just like, this is awesome. Like, this is talent. This is, you can tell the artists that like love their fans, love what they're doing, um, and I think it kind of shows through with Switchfoot,
Mm-hmm.
and the music. So
Amazing.
the best concert of my life for sure.
Yeah, if you have moments like that, they stick with you forever.
Hmm. Yep.
And that's something, you can fall back onto as well.
Yep.
Moments like that. Absolutely. And I think it also kind of forms a deeper bond that you have with the music of that particular
Yeah.
artist as well. So yeah, concerts are definitely a great way to connect with the music and the artist. Yeah.
I
for
just had
sure.
a thought pop into my mind, if you don't mind me sharing it.
Mhm.
It
Sure.
was the you ever had somebody like, hey, you need to listen to this song, or you wanted to share a song with somebody
Yeah.
because you're just so impressed by it, or for whatever reason. And thinking about mental health, a lot of times people will share a song with you where it's speaking something they don't know how to say. And like, when you and your listeners have an opportunity where that happens, pay very close attention to the words that are being said, because it may be saying something that the other person wants you to hear. And
Hmm.
I'm finding that whenever I've done that, whenever I've said, hey, you need to hear this song, it's because I want to be able to communicate the words, um, and the message of my struggle with that person.
Hmm.
it's,
And
it's communication.
it's and I've got goosebumps at the moment because that's how this all started. What I'm doing right now,
Really.
because I've been on this journey as an introvert,
Mm-hmm.
and back when I was growing up, introversion wasn't known.
Mm-hmm.
So my struggle was always I was the quiet one, I was the shy one, I didn't talk much, I was a lot by myself. And then everything that kind of added on top of that because of it. And music was my way of kind of expressing myself to the world.
Mm.
And this is how this all started. I just wanted to share that you can tell people what's going on without saying a word and let someone else speak for you.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the where things really started for me. And once I started doing that, I was able to connect with other people who, maybe went through similar things or just loved the song and then realized there's actually a message behind it. So there's so many ways I was able to literally connect with other humans through it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went, that's the power of music. I don't have to
Yeah.
say a word and still be able to say something. So I totally agree with you. It's such a wonderful way to actually let someone know this is what's going on for me at the moment.
Yeah.
Definitely
You know,
do that.
I love this idea for a podcast, and I have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
Um,
Hit me with
so
it.
top three artists that you would be able to interview on this podcast, because I think having artists on this podcast is a brilliant idea. Who would you want? Like, seriously, don't undershoot it. Like, who would you want to have on this podcast to interview? Top three.
Top three.
And they have to
Okay.
be alive, obviously.
Yes. Well, that goes without saying.
So
There's
Elvis is out.
no, that wouldn't be my top three. Sorry, Elvis fans. Okay. Definitely Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters. Um, I just love him for his realness, and I mean his public life
Mhm.
itself is interesting. Um, then okay, there's a Swiss rock band called Gotthard. Any of the guys, I'd love to talk to. They're all, apart from the lead singer, he passed away. They got a new lead singer,
Mhm.
but any of those guys, I'd love to talk to. And then probably Pink. That's just sort of the three that come to mind.
Nice.
There's heaps more, obviously,
Yes.
heaps
Oh, of
more,
course.
but
So can I issue a challenge
oh, you're being
in
hard.
front of your audience right now?
Sure, go for it.
So this is something I'm kind of like big on, just growth and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
I want to challenge you to write each one of those artists and invite them on your show. A handwritten letter, and invite them on your show to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Just I've written letters to offer people my books, and the responses I've got are pretty cool.
Uh-huh.
And I'd be interested to see what happens, because I'd love
Yeah.
for you to have those people on your show, because I think it's a really great venue for artists to express and to kind of corner the
Mm-hmm.
ambiguity of their expression and really bring it out there for more meaning. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you
Challenge
think? Are you down
accepted.
for that?
Yeah,
All right.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah, let's
Yes.
do it.
Perfect.
Yes. We'll see what happens, but it's been on my to-do list anyway. So
Oh,
I
cool.
just got a good nudge. So perfect timing. And I'll keep
Yes.
you updated. And
Oh,
obviously
that
my
is
audience too.
fantastic. That's fantastic.
Now, before we wrap this up, and I love everything you shared, and I think it's such an important part to look after our mental health. And if we can use any tool at our disposal, especially music, then I definitely think let's do it. It doesn't cost you anything apart a little bit of your time to do that. And if it helps you just getting through the day, then I think music has achieved its purpose. And when we talk about writing to artists, maybe even write. Why don't you write? Have you ever told Switchfoot what impact they've had in your life?
Oh, stop. Are you challenging me? Are
I'm
you going to do
challenging
this
you
right
now.
here on this?
Yes.
That is wrong. I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
I will. So here's what I do when I send the letter out.
Yeah.
I seal the letter in a wax seal. I've got these little metal seals, and I melt wax
nice.
on there, and I seal it with my Broken People logo.
That is so cool.
And it's such a personal touch. And I
Mm-hmm.
use the best paper I can find,
Mm-hmm.
and I just handwrite it. And I'm going to do that, and I'm going to let you know what
Right.
happens. We may have to do a part 2.
Yes.
We'll have Pink, and we'll have Switchfoot on here, and we'll just have a great time talking together with everybody.
That's his next level goal. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Dream big or go home. You are home, I probably, but
yes, I'm home. Home as in, yeah. But I know what you mean.
yes.
Oh God. What an episode. One to remember. Now, before we call it a day, mine's just starting, but anyway.
Yours is just starting, yes.
Yeah. There's always one question I throw out there, and I know some people that go, "Oh, really?" But there is the question I ask, and it's always so interesting to answer. If you would have to pick just one song that describes your life and or business at this moment in time, what would you pick and why?
Yeah, I think I would go with a song by NF called Change.
Okay.
And I just feel like life is constantly dealing with change, and you can embrace it or you can fight against it. And I actually, the only word I remember from the song right now is change. But I love the song, and in fact, I'm gonna listen to it after this because I think it can be detrimental to who you are and the people in your world when you just stay put, when you don't challenge yourself, when you don't write Pink and ask her to be on your show. We need to change. There are some basic foundational stuff that should stay the same, that keeps with who you are, but the clock changes, the date changes, everything changes. And
yeah, I just thought about a nice house where basically most of it is the foundation, but you can change the wallpaper and the windows and the roof if you want.
Yeah.
But some things remain.
And the toilet.
Yes.
Sometimes you gotta change the toilet.
Yes. Oh gosh. Let's not go there.
Yeah.
No.
But I want to. But what do you call the bathroom there? Is it this bathroom, lavatory, toilet?
Bathroom.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. So cool. We're like twins.
We shouldn't go into like Swiss German. It's different. So
yeah.
We're not going there. Totally different language. No, we're not. Totally different language. Anyway.
Yep.
Thank you for sharing that. I'll definitely go and check him out because I've not heard of him before. So I will do that. But yeah, that's it. We've done it. We've made it until the end. Show's almost over. Let's give ourselves some applause.
Rock on. Yeah. Right on.
Well, I really enjoyed this episode. It was really good. Heavy topic, but with a bit of a lighter note. And I like that. I think that gives people hope that, not everything stays dark all the time. There is sunshine out there.
Well, absolutely. It is.
Yeah. Right. Well, thanks so much for sharing everything you have, Joe. I really appreciate it. And all your details will be in the episode description. So if anyone's curious, wants to get in touch, please check that out. It will all be there. otherwise, that's it. Thanks for joining in, B-siders, for another episode. And we shall keep you up to date on the challenge we just issued ourselves in this episode too.
Yes.
And yeah, that's it. As I always say, keep on dancing and keep on rocking. Yeah, peace out.
Deuces.
And feel a little bit of that.
I love you.
We're dropping the mic shortly.
Yes, yes.
And that's it. I'll talk to you and see you in the next episode of my podcast. Until then, you all take care. Bye.
Toodaloo.